Welcome back to another episode of the Bench Mob ENT podcast, the best sports podcast in New Jersey. Before we get into it, take care of some house rules. Make sure you smash that like button, share, subscribe. Let the algorithm know that this is good content and it needs to be pushed out to the masses because we are trying to be here for a good time and a long time. We got a 2-man episode for y'all tonight. Miles, how you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. Long day. It's hot out here in North Jersey. I hope you got AC wherever you guys are listening. I hope you got AC because it's brutal.
Facts.
It's brutal out here.
Try stay unless you just trying to lose weight. This is perfect weather for you. Just sitting there, no AC, throw on a sauna vest. You might be able to get a record and lose 10 in one night. That's how hot it is. Just walking, you end up sweating from one block to the next. It's brutal over here. On this episode tonight, we're gonna touch on Mike Brown. What's the fit like over there with the Knicks? He had a press conference. We're gonna talk a little bit about that, how he fits over there, especially with the media, being that it's completely different when you get a coach and job for the New York Knicks versus any other team. We'll talk about the Bradley Beal possible buyout, where he could possibly fit. Deandre Ayton, how does he fit with the Lakers? Does he actually improve his game now that he's surrounded by Luka and LeBron? And we'll end off the show talking about the Norman Powell trade, what we think about that. It's not going to be a long episode for y'all tonight. Wasn't much to get into. We're just going to have a nice, solid, good episode, great content. You're going to enjoy it still. Smash that like button, share, and subscribe. Starting off with
winning culture that produces championships. That's why I'm here. I'm fortunate to know what it takes to create that success. A lot of hard work, a high level of commitment, and a focus on today.
So, people talking about I'm ready to run through a wall for Mike Brown. Listening to the press conference, he must have been saying the same stuff in the interview that had Leon Rose and Dolan all happy and excited. Y'all did make it to the conference finals this past season. You fire your coach and you hire another coach in Mike Brown. Is it being that y'all literally just made a game or two away from getting into the finals? Is it finals or bust for Mike Brown?
I mean, you could say that because he's coming in, and this is a team that's sort of been ascending for a few years. We started off, nobody wanted to come here, but Tibbs, he was free. So he took the job. We made it to the playoffs. I think that first year with Randall, RJ, like Elfrid Payton was our point guard, and he maximized that. And then we upgraded the roster, kept doing it, and then we reached the conference finals this past year. So it's a fair assessment to say it's finals or bust at this point, because when you look at the East, you got a bunch of teams that are a little banged up. They already announced Tyrese is going to be out for next year. Tatum, he won't be back probably until around the playoffs, if that. I mean, there's no reason to rush those guys at this point. So that leaves the Knicks as one of the more stable teams in the East. And that's why you make a move like this. That's why Leon Rose, and whether it was collaborative with Dolan in firing Tibbs, but all the eyes outside looking in could see that something had to be done. Like, for you to not use a bench when that's kind of the key in this NBA. You need to have a bench so your starters are fresh. You got to have good players off the bench, and that can elevate your team. Like, look at OKC, who just won. Great bench. They traded for a lot of bench pieces. So even the Pacers have a great bench. So if you're going to win in the NBA with this CBA, you got to have players on your bench. You got to trust those guys on your bench and then go from there. And that's one of the things Mike Brown's done in his previous stops. I mean, we can look at Sacramento, how he's maximized guys like Malik Monk. Even Keon Ellis has been able to, play decent for him. But I'm interested to see the offense that he's going to run. I know it's more of a motion offense and not reliant on one guy to dribble. I'm not calling anybody out, but last year at times the Knicks did get too reliant on Brunson to do everything. When you make all these moves to make his life easier, so I'm excited, cautiously optimistic because as a Knicks fan, you can't get too excited. You can't get too excited. Like we can talk about finals or bust. I don't want to jinx it and say like this is a team that should make the finals. But when you look at it, this is a team that should make the finals because you got Cat, you got Brunson, like OG and Macau on that side, and then you upgrade your bench with guys like Clarkson and one of the more underrated signings of free agency with Yabusele. So this team is a really good team. I know I looked at the odds the other day, and I think we have the second best odds behind OKC for the title. Which I mean, that doesn't mean anything right now, but it just tells you what expectations are going to be going into next season. So,
Do you feel with Mike Brown being there, because you just mentioned one of the key additions that y'all got last offseason, Mikal Bridges, being that Mike Brown, his offense is kind of similar to what the Warriors run now
yeah,
in their heyday. And in that system, Steph was still able to get his points. KD was still able to get his points. So I think Jalen still is going to get to what he needs to get to. Cat still going to get what he needs to get to. OG seemed to fit in seamlessly throughout the year. The question mark was Mikal throughout the year, up and down play. With Mike Brown now, do you think Mike Brown can unlock Mikal Bridges in this offense with this team?
I think with some of the upgrades, we're not going to have to rely on him as much as we did last year. As far as maybe like point of attack on defense, like I know he dealt with that more than any other player in the NBA, and I know that beats a guy up throughout the season. And I mean, he was talking about lowering the minutes to begin with, so he should be happy that Mike Brown is here because he's going to play those guys off the bench. And I mean, we saw it in the postseason. This is a guy who at times can be one of your key players. He can be an X factor for your team defensively, offensively when he's streaky, shooting like that. So the key for us this year is finding out ways to maximize him and not make him just a corner shooter, which he's more than that. He can space the floor, but he can also put it on the floor too. So mix and matching with those lineups. I know Tibbs was a little rigid with, trying out different lineups. And that came back to bite him because then once you're down 2-0 to the Pacers, you're, throwing paint at the wall, seeing what color is going to work for you. And once you do that in the playoffs, it's a little too late for that. So I'm intrigued to see what Mike Brown does with those rotations, whether that's Macau running some point with those guys or him playing with Clarkson or other guys like Hart. It's going to be a fun season. I think this team got better, and sure, you could say that Tibbs is a better coach than Mike Brown, whatever. But at the end of the day, changes need to be made. Doesn't matter if he's a better coach. He just wasn't the right coach for us at the time.
So one of the ways that Tibbs was the right coach was it came with the media. Tibbs didn't say much. Tibbs kept it close to the vest. That's always been his MO since he's been in the league. He ain't going to give you much. A lot of people, reporters, not fans of Tibbs because he ain't going to give you a sound bite. He's not going to give you the details of what he saw, why he made his decision. Flip side, though, Mike Brown, we saw, especially that last year with the Kings, very animated. He's going to talk. He's going to give insight. He's going to be sometimes brutally honest. We've seen he's called out players. Being a Knicks coach, we don't hear from Leon Rose. I think they said we haven't seen Leon Rose in a press conference, hadn't heard him talk in at least 5 years. We ain't going to hear from Dolan. So He didn't set up the roster. He didn't bring in Clarkson. He didn't bring Yabusele in. He didn't bring these pieces in. He didn't have a say in it. But he's going to have to answer for Leon Rose's decisions, James Dolan decisions, and talk about the decisions on the court. What's your thoughts of him dealing with this New York media and having to answer not only for his actions, but also for Dolan and Leon Rose?
I think for him, seeing as like how his career is going as a coach, like he coached LeBron in those early years, and they went to the finals, and he had to deal with a lot of scrutiny back then. And then even when he took the Lakers job, that was a tough job for anybody to take after uh, Phil Jackson, following in his footsteps. That's tough. So I think he's been there. He's done that. He's kind of tried to handle these different media outlets like Los Angeles. That's a tough media market. Maybe not as tough as New York, but it kind of helps you prepare and see like, okay, these guys are going to ask questions. They're ready to win. They expect winning when you get to this point. So I think he'll be able to, handle the media just fine.
I'm intrigued to see, especially if he has to call out one of the players, how the team responds. If he has to call out a Jalen Brunson, if he has to call out a Cat, which I foresee he's probably going to have to call him out at some point, especially if he's going to attempt to get back to what we know Mike Brown for, which was defense. I think that's going to be something huge that we have to watch and look forward to. Like, all right, yeah, we brought you in because we need to unlock the offense, but we can't lose too much of the defensive aspect, which is what you were known for, your calling card. And then I guess maybe the personnel, Sacramento, a Malik Monk, De'Aaron Fox aren't known for playing defense. Sabonis isn't known for playing defense. So maybe he just, with my personnel, these jokers ain't going to attempt to play D. Let's just try to outscore teams. Maybe that was his approach. Looking at it, bunch of injuries next year. You already mentioned them. Who do you feel is the biggest threat to the Knicks on the Eastern Conference? We didn't even talk about the loaded West. The Eastern Conference. Is it a Philly? Possibly. If they're healthy, that roster looks pretty good too.
Yeah, you got to put Philly up there, especially, they benefited from all those guys going down, and they began to quote unquote tank later in the season, and it benefited them. They got a young guy in Edgecombe who I think is going to be special in this league. So now you have a backcourt of him and Tyrese at some point, and then you mix in, if you get a healthy Embiid plus a Paul George. Now this is a team that this is what they envisioned when they signed Paul George, when they went out and gave Embiid that extension. They're envisioning these guys helping them get to a conference finals, which they've never reached in the trust the process era. So for them, this is a key year for them. Like, I know Paul George was in a lot of trade talks in the background. I'm sure they won't come out and, say that he was, but he was, because that contract is hideous. And they could have taken Ace Bailey to fill that small forward role, but no need to reach. And Edgecombe fills that role of a explosive offensive player who's still developing and a guy who plays defense. So for a guy like Nick Nurse, that's kind of what you need. You need guys who are going to play defense, who are going to lock in. And they're a young team. This is a team that's gotten younger. Like, they got McCain coming back, who I think he can be a good player off the bench for them. Real solid. So yeah, Philly's definitely a threat. Orlando, they've made some moves. They got Desmond Bain. Of course, they still have Paolo and Franz, and I know they re-signed his brother. I mean, I don't know how much he'll play, but for the vibes, that'll help them for sure. And then the Hawks. The Hawks are definitely another team that you have to keep your eye out. They've been to the conference finals. Maybe not this Hawks team. Did I say Hawks or Heat?
Hawks.
Okay. I don't know. I heard Heat in my head. This Hawks team has some talent now. I know they've traded guys over the past few years. But now they have Johnson. He's going to be good. Jalen Johnson. Who else? The Resaw. I'm going to struggle with that name.
Risha Shea.
Yeah, Risha Shea. Okay. Yeah, that was way better than what Chuck would have done. So give me some credit. But I think he could be good. He's been real solid for them. Who else?
Dyson Daniels over there.
Daniels. They got Nikhil in a sign and trade to add
Luke Kennard, some shooting.
They got some talent on that team now. Something that they've been missing for the last 4-5 years maybe since they made the conference finals run. So that's definitely a threat. I think they make these moves in preparation for all these teams, backing off a little bit in the East this year.
This is the best year in the East for you to get your chance for a couple of teams. When you have a Tatum out, and the Celtics still, I think, are going to be a top 6 team, just because the system works for them. And when you shoot 83s a game, it's going to be games where they get hot and it's going to work out, especially in the regular season. Playoffs is where it hurts you the most, but I can still see the Celtics being a top 6 team. I think it'll be a very interesting season to see how Missoula coaches without having Tatum. And I think also an appreciation for Tatum. One of our members on the show isn't on, but I feel an appreciation for Tatum is heightened this season when you see him not out there and see how much he actually does for that Celtics team offensively and defensively. You heard heat in your head. You could have been thinking about the next topic. Bradley Beal is supposed to be bought out. One of the teams mentioned was Miami Heat, the Clippers, the Lakers, I believe the Bucks as well. Where is the actual best fit for Bradley Beal?
Best fit. It's funny though, because I don't really see him as a starter anymore. I think his best role now could be as a 6-man, because there you're not going to be expected to do too much. There's not too much weight on your shoulders. Why do you think Phoenix dropped you to the bench? Because you're not impacting the starting lineup to helping them win. So, I mean, yeah, the Heat, they've been rumored that they were interested before he got traded to Phoenix. So that's always an option. Although now with the Norman Powell trade, I don't think that's something that they're, too keen on, but we'll see. Maybe the Bucks, if you're trying to still convince Giannis that you're being for real this year, maybe you try to go after Bradley Beal. But again, what does that really do for the Bucks? Does that make them a threat? Like, Giannis is great. He's one of the best players in the game right now, all time, sure. But there's nothing really here for him anymore. And bringing Bradley Beal, that would just be you pulling at straws to try to convince him to be a lifer. And I don't think Bradley Beal wants to sign up for that. So I'm trying to think of who would benefit from
Do you think maybe Clippers, him coming off the bench for the Clippers? They're the favorite right now. I actually like him in Milwaukee on this aspect. Yes, I agree with the Giannis aspect. It doesn't do anything to convince Giannis, but for Brad specifically, go to a small market. Championship is not really on the horizon, and you just get to play ball. If he goes to the Clippers, Lakers, those are 2 teams that are trying to get a championship in one of the bigger markets. I would say Milwaukee. He just got Norman Powell, but Milwaukee or another team that they're going to be good, but ain't no championship on the horizon, because I don't think that's where he is at right now, because then that adds added pressure to it. I think he's good. Like you said, I think he's 6-man. Bradley Beal could still cook a lot of people off the bench, that 2nd-man rotation. You could start in the East on the Bucks, and you ain't got nothing to worry about.
Right.
Clippers or Lakers, it's going to be a microscope on you. We brought you in. You're supposed to be a vital piece to help us get to the finals. I don't like that for Bill.
I wonder if Golden State would be interested. Like, sure, they don't have that many moves that they can still make with as much money that they poured into Jimmy, and Draymond's still making a good amount, and Steph. I mean, he can get whatever he wants in Golden State. They're not. If he asks for 80 mil, they're gonna give it to him. So, but Bradley Beal, I think once you buy him out in Phoenix, you could get him for the cheap. Like, I don't think he's gonna be looking to get like a deal worth 20, 25 mil. It could be a vet minimum. It could be 5 mil, the exception. So Golden State's an option. Denver, I mean, I know they got to convince Nikola to want to sign with them. I mean, he's going to put pressure on them to upgrade this roster by not signing that extension this offseason. And, there's more money in the future. So he's not hurting right now. But Bradley Beal could definitely help them, especially off the bench. And he can be a secondary ball handler, definitely better than what they had in Russell Westbrook this past season. So if they were interested, I'm sure Brad wants to win. Like, that's the one thing he hasn't done in his career is win that often. And this is probably his last shot at doing that.
Looking at the Nuggets roster, I do like that of a bench with him, Bruce Brown coming off the bench. You have Zeke Naji, of course, Julian Strother. Yeah, they that would be not heard about Denver, but I think they should be interested. Looking at the bench, is not the deepest bench guard wise for the Nuggets. I don't see it, so I would think they decide to go that route. Looking at it, you mentioned Westbrook. Has been nothing as of yet. Where you think possibly Westbrook or CP3? Because CP3 says he wants to go to the Clippers. He wants to maybe have a reunion with the Suns. I don't know if those teams want him, though. Where do you see these two point guard legends actually end up, you think?
I mean, does he not know that James Harden is still there? I thought they didn't, see eye to eye. That was one of the reasons that he got up out of there. So maybe they pieced it up, but that's definitely an option. I don't know if he's starting for LA. Like, I know he wants to start, but I mean, at 40 as a point guard, you already announced you're leaving next year. Like, this is your farewell tour. Just enjoy it. Hitch your ride to someone or a good team, or go back to Phoenix. Ride out into the sunset, into the Grand Canyon with your boy Devin Booker. But if you want to win, you're gonna have to come off the bench, CP. Like, this is what's gonna have to happen. So,
and it's not 25, 30 minutes a game off the bench either. I think it got to be 15 to 20.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to play big time minutes if you want him to win, if you want that team to win. And I thought he was, really good with the Spurs last year. I feel like that would be a good option, last year. Maybe not this year, now that they've got a lot of high draft picks in those positions. But Miami could be an option. But he said he wants to be closer to his family. So once you say that, you already, shutting off 95% of the league.
You limited your options right there.
And if they say no, then like you're not really helping your case. Like, do the Lakers show interest? I don't know. I mean, again, it's not like this is not, the trade that should have happened years ago. This is 40-year-old Chris Paul, who's still a really good player. He's still a good player. He can, the IQ has always been there. So his game was always going to age well. But, I mean, come on. If you want to continue playing, you might have to open that up, Open up the radius of where you're willing to go. Maybe 50 miles, 100 miles. I don't know.
One last year away from the fam, and then you get to be with them for the rest of the time after that. Mm-hmm. Like, depending on what you want to do, from what all accounts is, he still want to play 25 to 30 minutes a game. You shutting down a lot of teams right there as well. For you want to play that many minutes still, which not saying that he can't, But if you want to play that many minutes, ain't that many teams option wise in that California area
Right.
that's going to give you that. You could probably get that in Phoenix, which reports came out today that they are looking for a veteran point guard. Wink, wink. CP3. I don't think it's going to be Russ. Russ, we haven't heard anything. We've heard some possible rumors for CP3. What you think is going on with Russ?
I mean, there's enough film on him from the last couple years to see that he's not much of a shooter. I mean, he's never been the strongest shooter, but now it's very clear that he can't shoot, and you're not signing this guy to be a starter anymore. This is a guy you sign off the bench. He gives you energy, but like if we're going off of the last we've seen Russ, which was the playoff series, it didn't really look that great. Like he had moments where the energy is always going to be there. Russ is always going to bring the energy. He's going to hustle. He's going to do all that. Sure, that's great, but sometimes we need you to do more than just the hustle. Why do you think people were getting on Josh Hart's case? Like if you're not able to shoot, if you're not able to do stuff in the half court game, you're not really affecting much when it comes to winning. And I don't know if he's a winning player at this point in his career. Like maybe he goes to one of these bad teams like Charlotte.
I forgot. I read an article literally yesterday. They said that the Bucks is a possible destination with the thought that
I saw
both players, him and Giannis, high energy, like to get to the paint. They could run the fast break. They could be a high-powered, fast-running offense. That's two players, your two key players that really aren't the best at shooting. I don't think that would be a good pair, me personally, but I forgot. I did read that. It kind of goes completely 180 to what they did last year and the year before that of having, we want to bring in Dame, a scoring option who could shoot the rock, to now we're going to bring in the 6'4" version of Giannis.
I mean, somebody's going to get hurt. Like you can't have two guys that drive to the basket that hard on the same team. Like it's not going to work. And again, I don't think Giannis sees him as a guy who gets him closer to a ring. I think that gets him closer to the lottery than a ring. So if that's what the management is doing for this team, then you're gonna reap the benefits with these picks that you're gonna get from a Giannis trade because you're not doing much to want to keep him happy in Milwaukee, which happy and Milwaukee don't really mix. So the fact that he stayed this long, I mean, kudos to you.
Speaking of happy, Luka seems happy. LeBron doesn't. Luka seems happy with the addition of DeAndre Ayton. We haven't heard much from the LeBron camp on their thoughts on it. But with DeAndre Ayton being in Los Angeles now, and this was a funny stat, this is the 9th number 1 overall pick that LeBron has played with. What do you see happen this next season with the DeAndre Ayton fit? How does it work? And what does success actually look like for Ayton and then for the Lakers having Ayton on the team?
Yeah, Ayton's definitely an upgrade from what they were trotting out with, Jackson Hayes and Alex Len and some of the big men that they've trotted out the last year or so. Great. I think this was more of a move for Luka and what he has moving forward than it was to, appease Bron. Like I think they're sort of done with doing that for him, where we ask your input for some of these free agent moves, and is this a guy that LeBron would have approved of in the past? I don't think so, because I mean we've seen a lot of film on this guy, and yeah, he's talented offensively, but he's timid defensively. He doesn't get those competitive rebounds. He'll get those rebounds that bounce off, and you hustled a little bit, but he's not really affecting the game in a way of, let's say, like an Anthony Davis. So that's something that they're missing that I don't know if they'll be able to replicate, like a guy that talented defensively, offensively. But we'll see. I just don't think it makes them that much better than they were last year.
I don't think so. I know of Lakers fans that, oh, this is a great pickup. Me personally, I don't like it already. With him talking and saying, I'm gonna prove the haters wrong. I use it as fuel. The last time he talked in Portland, he's talking about my nickname gonna be dominating. I don't like it already. Come in. I'm just here to work. I'm here to improve. I didn't play well last year. Own it and just come to work. Then the fact that he's doing all this talking and I'm motivated and da 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 da. Let's see it in action. Let's not have this year where we have a highlight reel where Jokic gets 6 offensive rebounds and you're standing out of bounds watching. I don't want to hear none of it. Off to a bad start for me already. The fact that he's doing all the talking and all this rah, bruh, at this point, nothing you say holds value. Come in and put in work. That's it. Come in, put in work, and you're going to have the opportunity because they signed back Jackson Hayes. So it's not much behind you on competition-wise with Jackson Hayes there. So it is what it is on that front. A trade did happen again. They said there's going to be a couple more that happen before the end of the offseason, before the next season start, but it's been kind of slow, and we already talked about that because of the new CBA and things that's happening, which Draymond said it would have never happened if I was the president, because you would have been able to control the players that voted without the knowledge. Stop taking shots at CJ. Your fellow NBA players did not read, did not understand what they were voting on, and this is why I in that situation. This is the NBA brotherhood as a whole, which we have seen for multiple CBAs. The statistics come out, something like more than half of the league don't even vote. They don't even vote for the CBA. I digress. There was a trade that happened with Norman Powell. I'm going to list the teams. You let me know what grade each team gets from this trade. That was Norman Powell. John Collins was involved. Kyle Anderson, Kevin Love, and a 2027 second round pick. Miami Heat, they got Norman Powell in this. Powell averaged 24.2 last year on 63.3% of true shooting. What grade do you give Miami adding Norman Powell to the mix?
I give them a B. Like, it does help you because Norman Powell is a good player. He's shown that over the past couple years when he's filled in when Kawhi or Paul George got hurt, and now last year when he was finally able to play like a starting role for the majority of the year, he had a good season. So it's a good move for them, but it doesn't really push them over the edge. Like, he's not like a star impact player. He's a scorer, and very similar in ways to what you already have in Tyler Hero. So are you going to have Tyler play point guard? How's this going to work? Because they both play the same position. So, but he's also on the last year of his deal, so it does benefit them in that way to free up some cap space and possibly get ready for whenever free agency starts next season with whoever's a free agent. If anybody ever decides to dip their toe in free agency again, yeah, like it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out for them. And they could also use him as a trade piece at the deadline, since he is on technically a 1-year deal. So I guess it's a good deal by Pat Riley. He's not asleep.
Clippers got John Collins. What grade do you give the LA Clippers acquiring John Collins?
I like what the Clippers have done in the offseason. Like, you bring in Brooke to back up your starting center. John Collins he's going to be a high flyer for them. I think pick and roll that can benefit with James Harden with another lob threat and a guy who can step out and shoot the three a little bit. So I like the trade. I give it a B, another B.
The Jazz, they acquired Kyle Anderson, Kevin Love, and a 2027 second round pick. What grade do you give the Utah Jazz? And do you think those two players get bought out?
I do. I do think they get bought out. Uh, I mean, they have nothing to give Kevin Love over there. I mean, he could stay and ride the bench, and it works that way. But I don't think he's gonna want to do that now. Like, sure, it's Miami. Like, I'll sit the pine in Miami, but Utah, it's chilly out here. I don't want to be here. And maybe he, you know, signs with LA once he breaks free. So that's another option. Um, but I'd say I'd give it an A because you got rid of John Collins, who he's solid, but he's not going to help you do anything. He's not going to help you make the playoffs. He's not going to get rid of all these guys. Like you saw, they traded Colin Sexton, now John Collins. Like they're trading a lot of guys because they're trying to get younger. They're trying to kind of tank a little bit. And next year's draft class is really good. So I'm interested to see if they look to trade Laurie too at some point and then really embrace it. But I could see him sticking with this young core and them trying to develop him and have a future building piece with him because they do have ace. They did draft Walter Clayton. You've got all these young guys. Kid from Baylor last year who had a solid rookie season. So you got some talent on this team. It's just why are we keeping these high-paid guys when we could just embrace these young guys and let them run? And kind of similar to what Washington has tried to do a little bit.
I think they need to trade Laurie and lose for Booze. Get Boozer to be in Utah, which would be a full circle moment, being that his pops played there. Have Boozer, Ace Bailey, and you off to a pretty solid start right there. Back-to-back top picks. Having that going forward in the future because you're not getting that level of talent through trade or via free agency. It's not happening. Nobody willingly is going to Utah unless it's AJ DeBenza who got a bunch of money to do it. But if he had a choice, I don't think he would sign with the Utah Jazz in the NBA. It's a 1-year thing going to BYU.
Mm-hmm.
You get drafted by them, that's at least 3 or 4 years. So don't think that brother wants to do that. But trust and believe, Danny Ainge is going to make sure he makes the right moves, whether we agree with it or not. He's going to be making some moves to get prepared for that draft coming up. Because Danny Ainge is one of those GMs that stays ready, so he ain't got to get ready. Bench Mob, we out. Peace.